Okay, so let's ask a very important question. Does buying second-hand models make sense? Yes, it does.
That's all, folks.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I consider the case closed, Your Honor. Okay, let's delve a little bit deeper into this. But before we do that, please have a check at my free Discord. I am there every day. We can, for example, have a chat about modeling, share some ideas or inspirations. It's totally free for you if you use Discord, and Discord itself is also a free app. The link will be visible in the video description. Okay, but getting back to the video. Modeling, and especially Warhammer, based on my relatively short experience with it, is not a cheap hobby. And believe me, I don't even want to try to count how much money went into it. And you need to be a pro or just purely focus on it to get some money back. Don't get me wrong, I really don't want to discourage anybody. For example, for me, it's like a pure hobby where I just sit, paint the model, and I relax. And I really relax with it. Perhaps my point here is to caution/advise some of you. I don't like to preach without evidence, so let me show you. I really know what I'm talking about. So this what you see here are just models. Some of them are brand new, some of them are second-hand. There are hundreds, if not more than 1,000 of them. And here, for example, we can see some accessories. Here we have some lovely paints. I really don't know why I have so many. Well, this is a few $1,000s. Or a nice lady's car, like some people like to say. And believe me on this, one of the options to save some money is to buy second-hand models. And here comes our example in. Let's give a warm welcome to Festus. I saw him on a Facebook group. Somebody was selling a few glued and based models. And this, for example, is a perfect opportunity for someone who is hunting for some good deals. And just to give you guys a few options where, for example, you can look for models, second-hand models. Search for any Warhammer group on Facebook that you can find. Just type in the search bar, for example, Warhammer or Warhammer buy, Warhammer sell, anything that would be preferable in your language. You should immediately get a lot of options internationally and nationally. You can also have a look, for example, on eBay or any equivalent web page to eBay. I have, for example, in Poland Allegro or OLX, just to name a few. And those, believe me, have thousands of new and second-hand models. You can also look for dedicated web pages. There are lots of those where many people sell tons of miniatures. Another very simple thing that comes to my mind is, for example, to visit one of your local Warhammer shops and just have a conversation with the people there. I'm really sure that if the owner isn't like a total jerk, he or she will allow it. Because they know that buying the models is just the top of the iceberg. And for example, if you come across anything interesting in their shop, like paints, brushes, accessories, or any other models, it's a win-win for each of the sides. The last option that I use is just finding out people that 3D print and getting some models from them. There are lots of dedicated Facebook groups and web pages where you can find lots and lots of people that do that. Believe me guys, those 3D printed models right now are top tier, like super quality. I'm really not an expert on 3D printing, but I have a few models printed in a 4K printer and those look fantastic. And most of the time the price is less than 50% of a regular model. Just remember that very often if you visit any web pages or some dedicated apps or anything, some groups, people sell their models a lot cheaper than the original asking price. Also, very often people just unpack the models or just glue them, and then they just want to sell them for any reason. And buying a model in this state for me is like buying a new one. And this is even better because if somebody does a very good job with cleaning the model and gluing it, then I have spared a few hours. And very often I can buy them like 20 to 30% cheaper than the original price. And I think that most of you know that 20 to 30% cheaper than the original Games Workshop price is a lot cheaper. But coming back to Festus, the model was cleaned, glued, primed and based. What made me really happy, he had some paint already on him, some layer paint, and it was relatively good. The paint that he had gave me also like a basic idea on how I can or want to paint the model. So I started with the Nurgling. I wanted it to stand out a little bit on the whole model, and therefore I went with some cold blues. Then I applied some Drakenhof Nightshade shade for the Nurgling and Agrex Earthshade for the rest of the model. To be honest, there was no special need for the Agrex, but the model had already some skin tone and I wanted it to separate a bit, and therefore I did it. So the Nurgling got some skin tone paints on some of the places. Some highlights here and there, a magenta accent as well. I was just putting the paint all over the model, glazing, blending and doing anything in some places or nothing in other places. It is a Nurgling, it is Chaos incarnate, and Chaos was the plan for him, if it even makes any sense for you. The next thing was the basket. I already had some nice paints on the palette, so I used it. Once again, this is Nurgle, this is Chaos. And the final effect of the whole model should be like the name of it implies, festering. And now I move to the Big Chungus himself. And all of the rest of the dudes, the dead ones and the one kneeling before him. The more paint I was applying, the more details I was finding on the miniature. This can be quite fascinating and intimidating at the same time. The red coats are coming! So, like with every model, we have this the main body. And this is especially visible in Space Marines. What I mean by that, we have the big blob of the body and some small details that give sense and separation to the model. Those are also places where your eyes can focus upon. Why am I telling you this? Because I didn't want the staff to take away attention from Festus himself. Therefore, it was painted more or less like the basket, in some toned, cold colors. One of the main highlights of the models is the dude kneeling before Festus and drinking some Nurgle Kool-Aid. Disgusting and lovely at the same time. A blue cloak makes him stand out instantly from the rest. The idea here was that he has been corrupted recently. So Nurgle gifts, if you know what I mean, have just started affecting him some time ago. Therefore, some parts of the cloak can have a really nice blue, lively shade. On the other hand, Festus's skin and the guys kneeling before him's skin and the dead body's skin should all be pale. And sorry guys for the strange glow on some of the videos. I really don't know why this happened. My assumption is that it is due to the phone that I'm using, it's relatively old. Nevertheless, let me leave you for a minute or two with the rest of the paint job. I will give you the time of the finished model here. You can skip till this point or watch as I'm painting it. Alright, so either way, let's see you there. Okay guys, and this is the finished model. I always really wanted to paint Festus. On the other hand, I also knew that this would be a challenge, but I'm really happy with how he turned out. She. I think Festus is a guy. But coming back to the topic of the video, does it make sense to buy second-hand models? It makes a lot of sense to buy second-hand models and to give them a new life, which they 100% deserve. Some of them will need some stripping, some of them will be grey and ready for painting, and some will be like Festus here, somewhere in between of those two, just ready for some details. Remember guys, to give a comment about this, I would really appreciate it. And as always, thanks a lot for joining me today. You are all super fantastic and I really mean that. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Give a like, give a share, leave a comment. Have a look at my Instagram or Patreon. Links to both of them will be in the video description. So, take care guys and see you on the next one. And don't forget, the Emperor protects.